Hey everybody, and welcome back to another lesson on the 2012-01 CompTIA A plus exam. This time we're having a look at exam objective 3.7. We're going to go ahead and tell you everything you need to know about this exam objective, tell you the questions they may ask you on your exam, and give you some practice questions at the end. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight to it with the first dot point we need to know, which is how to properly unbox your device and consider your setup location. A lot of this is going to be common sense, guys. The first part we need to know about is preparing the area. Make sure you've got a clear, flat, stable surface with enough space to lay the device out so you can see everything clearly. Gather any tools or materials you need. You may need scissors or a box cutter, but make sure you don't damage the contents where you're cutting the box open, right? Pretty self-explanatory stuff at this point. Inspect the package. See if there's any damage to the box that might indicate there was some mishandling during shipping. You want to make sure everything's in one piece. Carefully cut any seals or tape to open the package, making sure you don't hit the package on the inside itself, the contents. Remove the contents safely, one at a time. Make sure you don't drop or damage them, and keep the original packaging along with the foam inserts as well, ideally, so that you can transport or return it later if you need to. You want to verify that you have all of the parts that you need: power cords, manuals, drivers, software disks, hardware components as well. Make sure you got everything you need. Remove any protective covers, guys. We know what protective covers are. And now, that's pretty self-explanatory stuff, right? I'm sure you know. Take it out carefully. Make sure you have everything. I need to tell you officially because it's listed on the exam, but we don't need to know any more than that, truly. But when it comes to choosing the right location, there is some specific things we need to take note of. So, accessibility. Make sure that it's easily reachable for regular use and maintenance. Make sure that the paper trays as well in printers are accessible. You don't want them running into a wall every time you try to open them. Make sure there's enough space and ventilation around. If there's not enough ventilation or airflow, it may overheat, and we don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that it is close to a reliable power source and is going to be getting that wireless internet connectivity. It's in range of any routers or access points as well, of course, or you can plug it in with an Ethernet connection too. Noise considerations: if it's noise, consider where you put it. Don't put it near people that are trying to focus, right? And you want the stable to be flat and stable. Sorry, you want the surface to be flat and stable. Don't put it on a trampoline, guys. That's a bad idea. A lot of this is common sense, but I've got to consider it. Make sure it's not in direct sunlight, near extreme temperatures, or in high humidity, because these can cause damage over time, over consistent exposure to these things. And we don't want it near a lot of dust, okay? In a nice, clean place. So with that being said, we need to get onto some actual things we do need to focus on, which is using the appropriate drivers for your operating system, guys. So making sure you're using the right drivers is really important. Specifically, when we're talking about printers, which is what this objective is all about, the printer driver acts as a bridge between your operating system and the printer. So you've got two things that are trying to talk to each other. One is your operating system on your computer, and the second one is your printer itself. You want to make sure you're using the correct driver on both to make sure they can speak to each other in plain English. All right, so you need to make sure you're using the right driver for that specific brand and model. All right, you can't install a LaserJet driver for your Canon printer. No, it's not going to work. You need to make sure you have the right one. Pretty self-explanatory so far, right? A lot of drivers are also designed to work specifically on the specific operating system. So don't download a Windows 10 driver if you're running Mac OS, right? Self-explanatory again. Here's the specifics though. There are two specific types of drivers that printers tend to use when they are communicating with your operating system. Different languages, I suppose you could call them. The first one is PCL, or Printer Control Language, and the second one is PostScript. Long story short, you just need to make sure that if the driver on your computer is PCL, the driver on your printer is also PCL. If the driver on your printer is PostScript, the driver on your computer should also be PostScript. You want to have the same one. Otherwise, one's talking English, the other one's talking Korean. Next thing you know, there's a nuclear war. Okay, we don't want that. All right, we don't want that to happen. So you want to make sure you have the same ones. If you don't use the correct drivers, you're very likely to experience garbled print, right? Which is basically where the page just looks like a bunch of random gibberish symbols. We don't want that. We need to know what firmware is as well. Firmware is essentially a very specific type of software that functions at the hardware level. So it's a bridge between the device's physical components and its operating system, or its application software. So basically, it's the software that makes sure the machine, the printer, can actually do the physical tasks it needs to do. The firmware is the software that ensures the printer can do the physical tasks it needs to do. It controls the basic functionality of the printer, such as processing print jobs, scanning, faxing, etc. Manufacturers often release firmware updates, so you want to make sure you're consistently updating your firmware so that it is up to date. If you fail to update your firmware, you may lack security, you may lack new features, you may not have some of those bugs fixed that are likely to be present, because there's always bugs somewhere. Now, how do you connect your printer to the network? That's what we need to know about. Again, guys, you can connect a printer through USB, through Ethernet, or wirelessly. Think of the pros and cons of each. USB, you're really only going to be able to print off of that USB or off of the specific printer that is plugged in through USB. Ethernet, you can print network wide, but it relies on a wired internet connection. Wireless, you can print so long as you're on that network, but it's a wireless internet connection, right? So those are the three methods that you can use to connect your printer to things. Public versus shared devices, guys. We need to know about two different things here. It's specifically laid out for us in the exam objectives. We need to know about the printer share, which is basically where you plug your printer into one computer, and so long as that computer is powered on, all of the other computers in that area can access that printer through that computer that is plugged in. So, if this at the moment, say this laptop is plugged into this printer, but this computer over here wants to print. This computer would send its print job to this computer, and this computer would then make sure that printer actually prints it out, because in that case, what you have to do is you just have to make sure that one printer here has the printer drivers installed and can communicate with that printer. If you have a whole room full of computers, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt to try to have them all have the drivers installed, all connected to the printer. Bit of a pain in the butt. If you have a printer share, you can just have one computer connected to that printer, and all other computers can go through that computer. The downside of that is that computer always has to be turned on, right? You got to make sure that computer is functioning. If anything goes wrong with that computer, it's kaputzi. Whereas in a print server, it's the same kind of concept, but you've actually got a dedicated server for handling those print jobs. So the print server handles all of that printing, does all the communication with the printer itself, essentially acting as a host, and it operates independently to centralize and streamline that print job management. So long story short, a printer share, you could use in a small office kind of situation, but the moment you start to get to an enterprise level, you're probably going to want to go to a print server because it can just handle such a wide variety of print jobs more effectively, and it's centralized management, which is always good in enterprise. Good to keep things organized that way. So just know what a printer share is, what a print server is, when you would use both. Configuration settings, guys. This one's pretty cruisy. Duplex just means you can print on both sides of the page, right? If you want to print on both sides, you would use the duplex setting. Orientation is your portrait or landscape. Portrait, landscape. For portrait, which is vertical, you choose portrait. For landscape, which is horizontal, you choose landscape. That's pretty cruisy, right? Pretty easy. Tray settings, you want to make sure that you understand that you can use the tray settings to select which tray you can use, because different trays will often have different types of paper in there. So if you want to print on A3, make sure you select the tray that has the A3 paper in there, for example. And the quality just allows you to adjust the settings relating to the overall appearance of the print job, right? So do you want a high quality, low quality, medium quality, etc. One of the last bits we're on to now is security. We need to know about user authentication and the different ways we can authenticate. Basically, guys, we've got a bunch of different ways we can authenticate to a printer to make sure that we can confirm the person printing is the person who should be printing, and the person collecting that print job is the person who printed it. So you've got badging, which is basically using ID badges to grant access and manage permissions for shared printers. So you use your little badge to make sure, you might tap it on the printer, which would then allow you to actually print or collect your print. Audit logs, everything you print, all the resources you use go into an audit log, and that can be reviewed by whoever is in charge of reviewing that at any time to make sure that you're doing the right thing on the printer, so it holds you accountable. Secured prints is essentially you send your print off, but it won't actually print until you get to the printer and enter your ID or your PIN, right? And only once you do that while you're standing right in front of the printer will your job print. That essentially makes sure that from the time that you've printed it to the time that you've walked over to collect it, no one can pick it up accidentally or on purpose if there's a spy in your midst, right? We also need to know about network scan services. So when you scan, you can scan to copy, but you can also scan documents straight to your email. You can have it scan and send that document straight to your email. I do that a lot at my job. SMB, server message block, which is basically where your scan files are sent to a shared folder on a network computer or server using the SMB protocol. So you can send that to a shared folder, right? Absolutely. And you can also send it directly to the cloud, Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, things like that. Those are all capabilities that you can do. The final thing we need to know is the difference between automatic document feeder and a flatbed scanner, and when you might use one versus the other. So ADF, or automatic document feeder, is a mechanism that allows you to load multiple pages into a tray so they can be automatically fed. So if you've got a whole bunch of pages, you're going to want to use an automatic document feeder because you'll stick it in and it'll just scan them all, right? You don't have to place them one by one. Whereas a flatbed scanner looks a little more like this, one document at a time. You've got to open it up, insert the document, close the lid, scan it, right? That's what you've got to do. And it's really not ideal. So if you've got big, difficult documents, you're probably going to want to use a flatbed scanner that you have to be delicate with, or you can't just shoot through that automatic document feeder. Think of like often A3 pages or things that have been laminated, things that you just can't send through the automatic document feeder. You're going to want to use a flatbed. But if you've got a lot of A4 pages and you can, it's going to fit and it's going to go through the ADF functionality, then absolutely automatic document feeder is going to be a very efficient way for you to scan a lot of pages in a short amount of time. But a flatbed scanner will let you be really careful and do more difficultly shaped scanning. Okay, now we're going to get into our practice questions for today. Let's go ahead and jump straight to it with our first question, which is Liam is configuring a new professional printer for his design studio. Since he frequently works with high resolution graphics and precise color rendering, he needs to ensure that his print jobs are processed with accuracy. His printer supports two primary page description languages, one optimized for general office printing with faster performance and one designed for advanced graphics processing to maintain high quality output. Which of the following best identifies the two printer drivers Liam should choose between? A. PCL and postscript. B. Postscript and PPA. C. PCL and PPA. D. VGA and PPA. Pause the video if you need more time. Gonna get to the answer in 3, 2, seriously pause it. I'm going to go, guys. 1, let's go. It is PCL and PostScript. Those are the two languages you do need to know about for your exam. Printers use PCL and PostScript language. You need to make sure your printer is using the same language as your operating system, so you have those correct drivers installed. Now, the next question reads, which of the following is not a common method of connecting a printer in an enterprise environment? A. USB. B. Ethernet. C. Bluetooth. D. Wireless. Your answer coming up. Pause the video if you need more time in 3, 2, 1. Now, it is Bluetooth, guys. Generally, you don't connect through Bluetooth. We went through those 3 connection methods. Bluetooth is not going to be a method of connecting to a printer in an enterprise environment. Absolutely. USB, you might be thinking, technically you could connect one computer to the printer through USB and then use it as a printer share. But generally, it'd generally be Ethernet or wireless so that everyone can kind of print to it generally through the print server. The print server in a enterprise setting because it's got that centralized management, right? The next question reads, Lisa works in an office that handles sensitive financial documents, so security measures for printing are essential. To ensure confidentiality, she implements a system where employees must verify their identity before retrieving print jobs. Some employees log in with credentials like usernames and passwords, while others simply scan an ID badge at the printer. Additionally, all print activity is tracked and recorded for auditing purposes, and confidential documents are only printed when the user manually releases them at the printer. Which of the following security measures is Lisa using? A. User authentication and audit logs. B. Badging and secured prints. C. All of the above. Or D. None of the above. Your answer coming in 3. Pause the video if you need more time. 2. It's coming up. 1. The answer is all of the above, absolutely. So we had a look at user authentication, which is just that general that you need to authenticate in order to print. Badging is a specific way of authenticating using your ID badge. Audit logs is when your activity on the printer is tracked and recorded so it can be investigated in real time or later on. And secured prints is when you have to enter your PIN or ID at the printer before it starts printing to make sure you're there to collect it. All right, those are the things you need to know about for your exam there. The next question reads, Sarah is setting up a new printer for her office. Sarah later discovers that the driver she installed does not match the printer model or operating system. Why is matching the correct driver to the printer important? A. It ensures all printer features function properly and prevents compatibility issues. B. It reduces ink consumption by limiting unnecessary print jobs. C. It eliminates the need for connecting the printer to a computer altogether. D. It allows any printer to work with any operating system regardless of model differences. Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Boom. It is, of course, A. Hopefully we got that one. That was a pretty cruisy one as well, guys. So, look, we're going to head to the next question, and then I think I'm going to call it there because I'm starting to die. You can hear I'm getting all nasally and stuff because the sickness is kicking in. So let's get this one out of the way, and then I will send you off to the next exam objective. This question reads, Mia is responsible for maintaining several multifunction printers in her office. To ensure smooth operations, she regularly updates the device's software. One day, she notices that a manufacturer has released an update that improves security and enhances scanning functionality. She proceeds with the update, understanding that this software operates directly within the printer hardware and controls essential functions like printing, scanning, and faxing. Which of the following best describes the type of software Mia is updating? A. Printer driver. B. Firmware. C. Operating system software. D. Productivity application. Your answer coming in 3. Pause the video if you need more time. 2, 1. All right, your answer is firmware, guys. Remember, firmware is what ensures that the hardware is doing its functionality. It actually helps control with all of the faxing and the scanning and the printing mechanisms. The firmware is that software between that organizes the hardware components to make sure they're doing what they can actually do. That's what firmware is, and you need to make sure you update it, otherwise you might have bugs, etc. So guys, if you've enjoyed this, you can download my free 1201 practice exam in the description below or in the pinned comment below, and you can also go ahead and grab my ultimate learning guide over at journeytocyber.com/1201 in the link in the description below or in the pinned comment below as well. You get notes on every single exam objective, broken down not only into exam objective, but into every dot point for every exam objective. You get multiple choice questions, you get detailed answers and explanations, all broken down by exam objective as well, so you can make sure you can really identify your weak points. You also get 11 performance-based questions. You also get a troubleshooting performance-based question simulation where you can actually click on all the buttons. You can do this troubleshooting one here. All these people have things that they need you to help troubleshoot. You can troubleshoot these printers, right? You can actually click on the buttons. It's pretty cool. And I give you 2 videos giving you really in-depth knowledge on how to close the gap between your knowledge in those areas you're really struggling with, and also how to use multiple choice questions to study effectively. Most people think they know how to do it. Most people don't know how to do it. Most people do it really wrong, and they kind of waste their time when they do it, and they don't prepare adequately for their exam. So I show you how to do it right. So with that being said, this guy down here says it helped him pass his test, and it's going to help you pass your test if you grab it as well over at journeytocyber.com/1201. That being said, guys, go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day. Take a small break before you take in the next video and do your next practice questions, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.